Assalamu alaikum and welcome to This Hijabi Life, a show about Muslim women, modest fashion, and the modern world. I am your host, Hakeemah, and today we are going to be talking about Islamophobia. As Muslim women who are visibly Muslim because of our hijab, a lot of times that carries with it the struggle of being the target of Islamophobia. And today we're going to be talking about how we can combat that by just being more unapologetic, by using our creative expression, by using art, and really finding a way to show people that we are just as human as anyone else. And I think that our guest today does that in the most unique and most powerful way, and that is through media. Today, our guest is Samah, and I'll be reading her bio. Welcome, Samah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. So let's start off by introducing you. Samah Safi Bayazid is an award-winning Jordanian-American film director and producer based in Washington, D.C. She co-owns Light Art Media Productions and co-founded Light Art VR for Islamic entertaining virtual reality experiences. She focuses on telling important humanitarian stories such as the struggles of refugees, children of war, women empowerment, fighting Islamophobia, and bringing positive representation for Muslims in Western media. She is mostly known for her drama series Inspiration and her narrative films Orshena 2016, Fireplace 2017, Telephone 2018, and Apocalypse 2019, mashallah. They have all been critically acclaimed and won many awards in international film festivals. Her work, which she has made her become a pioneer in the industry as a professional Muslim woman filmmaker. Samah is also an advocate for Muslims in Western media, women's empowerment, and human justice. She is a guest speaker in many prestigious stages and universities such as Harvard, Boston College, Columbia University, UMass, Boston University, and she has a TED Talk. Mashallah. And she hopes that her work will be able to be a bridge between audiences from different cultures and carry the voice for the voiceless, changing the world one film at a time. Welcome, Samah. I know that was really long. And that was actually the abridged
introduction.
That was the abridged version. Mashallah, your bio was this long, and that was even shorter than, I'm sure, all of the things that you have done. You're such a powerhouse. I wanted to start off by asking you, what was your inspiration with getting into filmmaking?
Okay, so when I was young, I grew up in Jordan. Basically, we don't have TV production in Jordan. We have like few national channels, but we don't have like drama production or theaters, or like it's a very small country. And at that time, now alhamdulillah, it's so flourished and we started to see more of that. But at that time, there was nothing like Jordanian cinema or anything like that. But I was always dreaming about becoming a TV presenter. And I was dreaming about becoming one of the first hijabi presenters. At that time, there was almost no hijabi like on screens at the time, whether it's in Jordan or in America or like anywhere. So I was always dreaming about becoming a media presenter. And I was studying some courses about how to write for TV and radio stations and how to talk to guests. And I stumbled upon a drama, like how to direct your short film. And I fell in love. I'm like, oh my God, the amount of power and creativity and things that you can deliver through like a music video or a short film or like a drama series, it's immeasurable. So I realized that this is what I want to do. And ever since I was 22 years old until this day, about 12 years later, this is what I've done my entire life. This is my career, and this is what I've been doing, and I hope inshallah to continue doing, because it's such a powerful platform where you use all your skills and you tell the story so powerfully, and you have an influence over people, what they think, and also over people's life as well.
Yeah, I think that media and, creating films is a powerful way of telling stories. And we've met before, you know, we're friends. We've met before. And I think it was maybe the second time that we met, you mentioned just casually that you have a TED Talk. And I was like, okay, I would love to watch your TED Talk. I'm the type of person who loves to listen to storytelling podcasts and TED Talks because they always have really powerful stories. So I listened to your TED Talk on the way home, and I've listened to it a few times since. And currently, right now, as we're filming this, there has been a surge in Islamophobic events. Or you know, situations where Muslim women particularly have been targeted due to the situation that's happening currently overseas in Gaza. And your TED Talk, it talked about a particular Islamophobic event that happened to you, and how you kind of use that as a way to inspire your future work as well. So for those who have not watched your TED Talk, would you mind recounting that story for us and, you know, tell us how you felt in that moment to be targeted as a Muslim woman in hijab?
Sure. It's so crazy now. We are literally years later after that incident happened. And maybe only a few months ago, one was asking me about that story, and I mentioned it like that story that will never happen again, that because we are so over it, and we've done so much work ever since, and we're now well represented, and we had our media production and podcast and all these shows. And then like yesterday I was literally googling pepper spray, and it showed me that last purchased in 2016, and I literally purchased it yesterday again because I don't feel safe again.
Hmm.
And it's crazy, like how you think that Islamophobia is like we are fighting Islamophobia and we are making a progress, and then like certain events happen, and by certain events I mean media narrative about Muslims and dehumanizing of us, and then the wave goes up and back at like, unfortunately, like whether it's being irrespected, or like people treating you mean, like with a mean way, or either some people are literally being killed and attacked, unfortunately, for just the fact for being Muslim. So a few years ago, I think it was about like either 2015 or 2016. I was flying from JFK airport. I was going to Germany, and we were literally waiting in the like area before we boarded the plane. And there was a guy who constantly was staring at me. I didn't feel so surprised, because by then I was so used to people staring at me, or like sometimes throwing a hateful word here and there. So it was just like, unfortunately, my regular normal. So after we boarded the plane, the airport security literally showed up on the plane after we have boarded. Literally, all my stuff are like
Mm-hmm.
packed. Me and my husband are wearing our seat belts, and then literally the security came, and they took me off the plane after I boarded and said, there's like, we need to check you again. And they took me, they let my husband stay in his seat. They said, you can't join here. And I went again. They checked all my belongings and all my bags and interrogated me with few questions. What do you have? Did anyone touched your luggages or bags? Like some regular security questions. But then I asked them, didn't we do this before I boarded the plane? Didn't we like go through the security, and
Mm-hmm.
you probably have my name? So they said, yeah, but we have received a warning or a comment from one of the passengers telling us that he found you suspicious.
Hmm.
And at that time, it was so crazy. It's like, why just wearing a hijab would make another passenger, and who's, by the way, is not on the same flight. He's on a different flight. He
Oh,
just saw
wow.
me, and the moment we boarded, he literally went to the if I'm not sure, like the people on in the airport on floor, and told them that this lady is suspicious. And like in airport laws, when someone reports something suspicious, whether you believe it or not, you have to act on it. It's people's safety.
Mhm.
So that's why they literally took me off. And then after maybe 45 minutes, the pilot of Singapore airline, I was traveling with them, made a decision to wait for me, because my husband was there. Like he knew about the situation, so he literally waited for me. And when I walked back at the airplane, it was so embarrassing, because literally everyone was so suspicious of me now. Like, who's this Muslim lady who's wearing the hijab who was taken off the airplane? And then 45 minutes later, she's back on this long flight to Germany.
Yeah.
So it was such an embarrassing situation that it shouldn't have been put in from the beginning. And I remember that I didn't sleep during that flight, and I kept thinking about wearing the hijab. And even like nowadays, like it's crazy how the whole like wave keeps repeating itself. But the difference between back then and now, that I am alhamdulillah way more like way stronger in my faith and in my identity. Back then I felt like hesitant. Should I keep it? Should I keep my hijab, or should I take it off and still be a modest Muslim woman? And then I realized that taking off our hijabs to please people and make them feel, look, I'm just like you, is not going to solve the problem. What's hopefully would contribute to solving the problem is us reclaiming our own narrative, telling our own stories, and producing our films, our trying to put ourselves out there for them to hopefully we counter all the negative imagery and all the negative narratives that they are literally podcasting to people about Muslims, and all this dehumanization of us. So yeah, it's crazy. Like honestly, wallahi, I feel so sad for repeating that story, and that we are literally still seeing hate crimes happening against Muslim women, against Muslim kids. It's not even about hijab. Like nowadays, something that even makes you a little bit more stronger about your hijab is like, even if you're not wearing, if you're a boy, if you're a man, if your identity is that you is a Muslim, it's enough on itself to put you at risk if you're surrounded with those Islamophobic or people who are brainwashed by the media. So may Allah protect you and protect us all. But it feels like, oh my God, like all the work that we have done, we have to redo again. It feels like you are literally running on a treadmill. You think that you have made progress. The miles showed that you have run so far, but like you are still literally in the same spot.
Yeah. And that can be frustrating for people who actually are doing the work of trying to dismantle that, like you are doing with your work in filmmaking. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the projects that you've done. As you said, it's about telling your story, and, hopefully in some way that, and it's sad to say that you have to do any work to humanize yourself, because as a human being, you should be treated as such. But, if your work aligns with that, then it will make an impact. So inshallah, when we come back from the break, we'll be talking a little bit more about the work that you've done in that regard. Welcome back to this Hijabi Live. Today we're talking to Samah Bayazid, who is a filmmaker, and we're going to be talking to you a little bit more about the projects that you've done. So, we started off talking about an Islamophobic incident that happened to you, and these things are not isolated. I wanted to make that point as well. The people who might be watching this show might say, okay, well, she got pulled off the plane and, well, she came back, she got to be, but those things are traumatic events. These are things that don't happen, to everyone. They happen to people in disparity. So there's some people who experience these things and some people who don't. And that is the problem. So in that TED Talk, you also gave two projects. You showed two projects that you worked on, and those were beautiful storytelling feature productions or commercials. And one was in collaboration with Modanisa. Now, Modanisa is a global top modest fashion brand, selling everything from like abayas to hijabs to sportswear to and anything. Modanisa sells literally everything. They have like thousands of listings on their website. And the commercial that you made with them was particularly to humanize Muslim women and show that we have a lot of different, things that we do in life, different professions. We're mothers. It showed women inside the house without their hijab on, and then they put on their hijab and they leave the house and they're going to work and their neighbors and they're. And I felt when I finished watching that commercial, I felt that the message was that we are humans just like you. And again, the thing that I mentioned before the break was that it's sad to even have to say that, but with incidences like yours and far worse, that work does have to be done. And some people will do it in the manner in which you're doing it. So talk a little bit more about your collaboration with Modernisa as a fashion brand who wanted to put out this PSA or this commercial to show that Muslim women are not just whatever, but we are full-fledged, multifaceted human beings.
Something beautiful about Modernisa, I have to say, they were one of the first international companies to actually talk the talk and do the work when it comes to modest fashion and Muslim women. Basically, I feel like their brand is not only there to sell you modest clothes, which literally solved a huge problem. I remember those days when I had to wear like the tank top and then like a long sleeves underneath to make it modest, and like I don't want to look back 10 years ago where like literally there's nothing modest in the market. And they were one of the pioneers, if not the first, to literally have this a huge platform where you can literally find everything from head to toe. And everything is so modest, and they like taking into consideration all level of modesty and cultural differences and fashion and trends, which is amazing. But what I love more about Modernisa is that they literally, when I told them, listen, before they used to work with me to what do you call it, like to promote their fashion brands and everything that they do through my lifestyle. But when I went to them as a filmmaker and I told them, listen, how about we do something to actually stand with Muslim women around the world? And they were one of the first brands internationally to literally just fund this project and produce this, just to show people these are the Muslim women who are in the world making change every single day. As you said, they are loving mothers, amazing doctors, police officers. They're like everyone else. And back then in 2000, also 17, I guess, was it? I think it was 2017 or 16. This was the first of its kind. Now, like we're used to seeing women on Nike advertisements. And alhamdulillah, we're grateful. It's amazing. It's necessary. It's overdue. But back then it was the first time, like it wasn't an ad, it wasn't like women twirling in their dresses, it was literally it's like a PSA, a public service announcement to show directed to the Western audience, to show them that these are Muslim women, they're just like you. And I know at some point in our lives we were like, no, we have to stop saying we're just like you. We don't have to keep saying this. But as you said, like again, here we are in 2023 and 2024, and we're repeating the same lines again. We're just like you. Muslim women are just like all other women, with differences that we make to our life choices and faith requirements. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings with feelings and ambitions and dreams. So I love that collaboration so much, and I always love to do more of this. By the way, PSA's productions is one of my favorite things to do. I know we do films, we do VR, we do drama series, but it's like this 90 seconds or 60 seconds of a message that's very like visually packed with beauty and like music and movement and hidden messages and direct messages, and the influence and the energy that you feel afterwards. I feel like it's something that you achieve so much with in such a short period of time. So I really love that project. It's called Just Like You. Maybe we can insert some clips from it here.
Yeah, definitely. Even though it was produced years ago, it does still stand out. And it stood out then, and it still stands out, mashallah.
Thank you.
Speaking of standing out, I was at a care dinner, years ago. This was, again, we're talking about 2016, 2017 kind of time, which has so much longevity because your work is, impactful over time. So I was at a care dinner, and they broke for an ad break, and they showed on screen, and it was so funny because we had these Islamophobic gums that were at our table, and then they showed a commercial for Islamophobic, and it was about people who have Islamophobic or anti-Islam sentiment. And it's ridiculous because the Uber driver comes in and then they're like, oh no, I don't want to take the Uber because he has on a kufi, or, and I thought it was hilarious, especially because the product was in my hand, where like, if you pop the gum, suddenly you don't have Islamophobia anymore. It's like, oh, like you're chewing this minty gum and you're like hugging your Muslim neighbor. And I was cracking up. I kept that Islamophobia, and I'm telling you right now, if I went to my dresser, it's on my dresser because I just see it as something that's funny and it's just there to make me laugh. Then I met you years later. I think 2 years ago we probably met, or maybe even a year ago. And you're like, oh, watch my TED Talk. And Islamophobia is your project. I was like, oh my gosh, Samah, you made that commercial from years ago. I kept that gum because it was so great. Like that again, you said PSAs are important for like really just making an impact in a short amount of time, subliminal messages, imagery, and then it kind of like there's something in your mind that just sticks, and then you just go on. So I love that project. I said that whole story just to tell you, I love that project.
Oh, thank you.
And, I haven't had the pleasure of watching all of your work, but from what I've seen, beautiful, impactful, amazing. So I am such a fan of your work. I wanted to know, what are some of your favorite projects that you've worked on in the past?
Okay, I always say whenever people ask me this question, it's like asking who's your favorite child.
Okay.
And like you love them all, and everyone
Yeah.
has a unique characteristics about them. But I always answer this, by the way. I always love whatever is decent. I don't know. It's like when you love like your youngest baby,
Yeah,
like this is my
I know.
and yeah. So
Yeah.
right now, like if you watch maybe an older interview, it's gonna be maybe inspiration or Shayna. Like right
Mhm,
now, my favorite two projects is actually all the VR films that we are doing at Light Art VR, which we can
mhm,
talk about later. But
mhm,
I am loving and obsessing about our new comedy drama show. We just filmed a comedy drama show in Chicago last summer, and we're
mhm,
currently editing it. It's a story about a Muslim family in Chicago, American Muslim family, with the diverse parents. One of them is an immigrant, and the mother is born and raised, and the kids being raised in America, going to a public school, trying to figure out who they are, and
mhm.
so many like funny and humorous stories that's happening within their households, challenges that the parents are having. It's so beautiful. It's the first of its kind, because usually we either have shows about Ramadan shows and things like that, or we have reels on Instagram. But basically, there's no comedy drama shows that it's addressing families and kids. So inshallah, I think it's going to be amazing. And there are so many hilarious jokes and visually beautiful, funny. I laugh while I edit. And maybe I'm biased because we wrote it and directed it, me and my husband, Muhammad Bayazid.
Yeah.
But in general, I think inshallah, you and your kids will love it. For now, the working title is Super Adam.
Okay, so you mentioned your VR or virtual reality company. And I think I mean, I'm a fan of so many things that you've done.
Oh,
I,
thank you.
I wanted to let you talk a little bit more about Light Art VR. On your website, it says it's an adrenaline pumping experience. It says, we celebrate movers and shakers, avant-gardes in their field. This is your VR company. For this reason, we approach the virtual reality industry with nothing less than true innovation. And that's something that I really try to amplify on the show, people who are innovating in their fields. We noticed a void in the VR market and we sought to fill it. No VR program has tapped into the richest parts of history until now. I'm glad you said that this part of history that you depict in your VR is the richest part. So tell people what your VR experience is all about, and what time in history does it bring to life all over again.
Okay. In 2018, Muhammad, my husband and work partner, and I were in Disney. And we were literally, before even we had Shams, and we were having a blast everywhere. We went to Avatar, like a 3D ride. And we were like, why we don't have any Islamic entertainment, period?
Yeah.
Nothing. So we were like, do you wanna go crazy and jump on VR? My husband, he's like really like a tech savvy, like not only a filmmaker and director, but he's also like very visionary with when it comes to technology. And we know how to make films, but how about if we make films that we can watch them in VR, in virtual reality? And when I say that, we don't say that let's film them because it's gonna look a crappy quality on VR. Let's create CG films, stereoscopic, 360, 8K resolution. So we literally, alhamdulillah, was and still the only company, not only in the US, but worldwide, to be producing such VR films in such high quality and this immersive experience. So we take our audience on a journey through time to go back in time. We have different films and different movies, but like to sum it up, we take you back in time to witness the history of Islam, what Mecca was before Islam, the night of revelation. We take you to visit Ghar Hira. On that night, we take you to witness Al-Isra wal Mi'raj. We take you to witness Moses' story. So we have Hijra, Isra and Mi'raj, Mawlid Nabawi, the story of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Mecca, A Journey Through Time, and recently Moses, A Journey Through Time. All these movies that we've done, 6 so far, and we're working on Moses. All these films that you can watch on a motion platform that moves and flies with wind and scent when you get closer to Kaaba. Old Kaaba in like 1400 years ago, you smell a scent of musk when you go inside the tomb and like the place where Prophet Muhammad SAW was, Rawda, where he was buried. You smell musk. It's amazing. Like when it's raining, you feel like that you smell the rain and you feel the wind over you.
Wow.
So it's fully immersive, and it's like, alhamdulillah, it's been since 2018 we've been in business, and we have had few locations, alhamdulillah, now in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Sydney. We're doing some like rotating in the US in big conventions and also event booking. So we're doing all these entertainment opportunities for Muslim audience. And always when you say entertainment and Islam, it feels like what? But we're so happy, alhamdulillah, to have mixed these both in the
Yeah.
most innovative way and creative and entertaining. Once you come here, you're gonna watch the full experience, period.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna let you watch everything, and it's beautiful. Alhamdulillah, every 6 months we produce a new title, a new VR film, and I
Wow.
feel like this is the next thing. Basically, it's a nice way for Muslims to reconnect with their roots and their stories, and people come out of these experiences feeling like, I'm proud of who I am. I love Prophet Muhammad. I'm proud for being Muslim. It was fun. Kids, they're like, I love the elephant battle. It was amazing. They see like the elephant almost stepping over them.
Yeah.
It's so immersive and it feels so real. Like when the snake in Moses like comes toward the camera, I swear, like it's like you're living it. Like
Yeah.
the chair is moving. Alhamdulillah. And also it's a nice way, since we were talking about Islamophobia, we have done some events in New York Times, we have done some event in Times Square
Wow.
where people from different faiths and walks of life came and watched our VR experiences, and they were shocked to know so many of the facts and relive that era, to see how Islam came to correct so many of the mistakes of that time, to liberate women and give them the rights, to end slavery and help ending that, to educate people about like economy and how not to abuse people financially speaking, so many of these things. So I feel like this is a nice way. Also in Canada we do these interfaith events. People come and watch these experiences, and it feels like they are understanding who we are and where we come from, and the message of our religion and Islam deeper than any way ever. So alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. You know, Dawa can come in a lot of different ways. Who would have thought that like a VR experience would be the method by which like a person who might have had maybe just an misunderstanding about Islam, or maybe actually deep-rooted Islamophobia, right? And they go through your experience, or they even hear about your story. They stumble upon your platform in some way, your website, your Instagram. I mean, mashallah, you have a lot of different ways where people can find your work. And then just something clicks in them where they're like, wait, these people are not the way that I thought that they were, you know? And there's a lot of different avenues for that. Virtual reality. I mean, even today, like I said, we're living in pretty hard times right now. With what's happening in Palestine. And when I open my TikTok, what I see is video after video after video of non-Muslim people learning more about Islam because of the tragedies that's happening, because they're curious now, right? They're advocating, but they're also educating themselves. They're unlearning, they're dismantling, and that's another path for Dawa, you know? So I want to applaud you for your work. I know you've gone through a lot of, you know, educating yourself through learning how to create films, and then you really created something completely new. Being the only one in the US, being the only one globally who does this kind of work is very, very impactful. And I pray that it really reaches the audiences that it needs to reach, and, you know, pierces people's hearts and minds the way that it should. Welcome back to this Hijabi Life. Today we're talking about creative expression and how it can be an avenue for dismantling Islamophobia with filmmaker Samah Bayazid. Right now I want to talk a little bit more about, you know, the weight that we sometimes carry with us as Muslim women. Again, being visibly Muslim is not necessarily always easy. And the path that Muslim women take in order to become, you know, more empowered by their hijab journeys can be very varied. With Islamophobic incidents, a lot of times Muslim women just choose to not wear it anymore, right? You know, just recently something happened that might have rocked a lot of Muslim women's or shook their faith with regards to, you know, their conviction to wearing hijab. The only way that you can tell someone is a Muslim is by either asking them or looking at them. And for Muslim women, you can see it on us. For the men, they don't, I mean, it's not as obvious. So what I hear from you is that you've gone through, you know, maybe the incident that you talked about in your TED Talk, but maybe even more that you haven't talked about. And maybe there's some people out there that can relate to you in that way. But since then, you have done so much to kind of combat that kind of sentiment that made that man look at you and say, oh, she's a threat, even though he wasn't even on your flight.
Yeah, they're so worried about humanity. Yeah.
Right. She's a threat. And he really ruined not only your day, but then created not just a platform for you to tell about your trauma, but also to empower yourself. So there's a path where you could be going through something that is traumatic, and then it kind of ruins you in a way. It breaks you. But for you, I see that it did the very opposite. Like, you seem very, very empowered with your hijab, with your Muslim identity, highly unapologetic, teaching people on various interviews, various platforms, a film every 6 months. You know, it's mashallah, it's very impressive. So I'm asking maybe if you can give some words of encouragement to some women who might be watching this and they've gone through something that is causing them to associate trauma with their hijab experience. What has caused you to find power in that moment and use it as a way to fuel yourself going forward?
This question really like hits differently, because I feel like most of us hijabi Muslim women, we go through phases of just wearing our hijab fearlessly and so confidently, and to other days where we feel like we're not ashamed of our identity, but we are scared because of it. So, for example, lately with the child being killed in Chicago, he's a Muslim Palestinian, and his mother also the Muslim woman. And like, it's so scary to know that you wearing a hijab, going out publicly with your kids might be a source of threat to them and to you. And it's so scary. But then when I think deeper about it, I realize that it's not my hijab that's causing me a threat, or it's like making me in a in a dangerous situation. It's what people have in their minds about me, about my hijab. It's
Mhm.
basically the problem. It's not here. It's
Mhm.
not around my head. It's not in my head. It's literally in their head in the opposite direction. So
Mhm.
I think I know, like, it might be the easiest solution to just take it off, and we're not here to shame anyone or blame anyone, and everyone has their own journey. And like, I love all my Muslim sisters, no matter in which stage or phase of faith they are. But I want you to know that we all have these thoughts and we all have these feelings, and wearing the hijab is not always 100% easy of a choice.
Mhm.
So I try to remind myself, or basically, like, how I look at my hijab. I look at this life as literally we are in transit mode. I travel a lot, so I always like to
Yeah.
talk about airports and flights. So it's literally we are in transit between this life and the one after, and hopefully the eternity will be in Jannat al-Firdaus, in paradise. So when I'm not wearing my hijab, honestly, it's so easy to get lost with work. And I'm not going to talk even about shahawat and lust. And it's just so easy to get lost in this world. We live in a very fast-paced world where you literally, from waking up to sleeping, you're running, running, running. And this piece of fabric that I'm wearing around my head reminds me of the places that I can be at, the prayers that I have to pray, my identity as a Muslim woman, being kind even when I feel like upset during that day, like remembering that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only entity, or like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who I worship, and I don't care about pleasing other people. Because honestly, think also about other minorities who are being discriminated against in the US. Not all of them can just like solve it by just taking their hijab off and throwing it. For
Mhm.
example, your skin color, you can't change it, your ethnicity, and so many other factors. So to so many other minorities, solving their problems doesn't rely on changing their appearance. Why is it going to be to us? I think the solution goes deeper than wearing the hijab or not. Personally, I find that it's like it's hard, and it's also realizing that hardness and hardships is literally part of this dunya
Yeah.
and part of the way we are being tested. Yeah, it's easier, it's prettier to have my hair outside and be just like everyone else, and definitely more comfortable, and definitely safer for my daughter in these like political climate times. But I
Mhm.
feel like eventually, what's my ultimate goal? My ultimate goal,
Yeah.
hopefully, inshallah, and I'm not perfect at all, or trying to pretend that I am, but like, if you go deep inside, I hope that I would please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this life. And wearing the hijab leads me to the ways and things and behaviors and manners and worships that hopefully, inshallah, brings me closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'm not gonna
Mhm.
jeopardize my faith and this deep connection between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this proud moment of I'm a Muslim woman and I'm proud of it, just because someone crazy might think of me as like something scary, or like have so much hatred for someone who doesn't even know. It's
Yeah.
like that's literally mental illness, and that's Islamophobia, and that's so many bad words that you can call. You can call that person who would do such shameful event or attack on Muslim women. But the
Mhm.
solution is not to take it off. The solution is hopefully for us, this generation, to keep on working and working hard and harder. So inshallah, when your daughters, when Shams, inshallah, when they grow up, they would be in a, hopefully, I've been saying this for a while, but I'm not gonna give up.
Yeah.
Inshallah, hopefully at their time when they're old enough to make their decision whether they want to stick to hijab and wear it or not, it's not gonna be about like life and death situation or
Mm.
safety. It's gonna be a spiritual choice.
Yeah.
Nowadays, so many Muslim women, they are spiritually high, but they still choose to take it off because they fear for their safety, and I don't blame them. But me
Mhm.
personally, I feel like I'd rather be cautious and have my pepper spray around me, and whatever is gonna happen to me, Allah subhanahu
Yeah.
wa ta'ala has written it for me. May
Yeah.
Allah like protect us all,
Mhm.
and like give us also, I always think about like having an easy death, peaceful death. I
Mhm.
hope I don't. I hope I never like. I hope I don't die scared, or because it's so like I always think about that last moment. But inshallah we'll live this life peacefully and enter inshallah Jannah peacefully. ادخلوها بسلام آمنين. I hope so, inshallah.
I love that answer, Samah. I think that was so thorough, because you expressed that compassion for someone who might be going through it, and they do choose to take it off. And there is compassion in that as well. I think that's really, really important. And that every woman is not going to be the same. They're not going to deal with things the same.
Yeah.
But at the end, because you are judged by your deeds at the end of your life, right? And this life being a blink of an eye, we want to value the things that are actually valuable. And that's not much that has to do with the dunya. It really does have to just do with what's inside. And your spiritual journey. So thank you so much for that answer. I'm sure that really inspired a lot of people watching this. So speaking of which, if someone has reached to this part of the interview, I'm sure they're extremely inspired by your work, and they want to go and have that virtual reality experience that you talked about with the wind and the glasses and the film and the tears and the joy and all of the things that you're able to bring up in people for that experience. What are some of your upcoming projects, and where can you actually go to have that experience with Light AVR?
Okay, with Light Art VR, so basically we announce about our events on our Instagram page, also on my personal one. Alhamdulillah, we had some events in Jordan, in Saudi, in Istanbul, in London next month, and literally from the west to the east. Alhamdulillah, we have events, and we have events almost every single month. So even if you're in the US or outside the US, just follow us. There's a chance maybe next week we are around your town. So, and also on our website, you can check for our upcoming events. We're currently working on Jesus, A Journey Through Time. So we have finished the 4 prophetic quarters that we did his Muhammad Sallallahu story, Mecca, A Journey Through Time, Hijra, Isra and Maraj, and Mawlid. And now we started doing prophets stories. So we have done Moses, and now we're working on Jesus story, which is a story that not so many Muslims talk about, but we have to reclaim he's also our prophet.
Yeah.
He is our prophet, and his story has to be told, at least from our perspective, which is, I think it's very beautiful for people from different faiths to come and see and listen and relive that time and his story. So inshallah, it's gonna be finished hopefully by the spring of next year. And we're still hopefully by the time this episode will be released, we are going to be working on season 2 of Adam Super Adam series. So we're planning on filming a second season inshallah next summer.
MashaAllah. I really want to go and see one of your events, go to one of your events to see one of your films and have that experience. And I cannot wait for Super Adam, because I'm going to be tuning in with the girls and we're all going to be watching it. And I just can't wait. When we come back, we'll be wrapping up the show, and you can learn where to connect with Samah and Light AVR if you'd like to have that experience as well. So we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to This Hijabi Life. We are wrapping up another incredible show with another amazing guest, Samah Safi. She is a filmmaker, and she's an incredible person, teaching us how we can use our creative expression to dismantle Islamophobia, which is a huge undertaking. And I want to thank you for being here and sharing your gift with us. I would love for everyone out there to be able to connect with you. I know they can easily Google, Samah Safi. I want them to connect with you on Instagram, your VR experience. Tell us exactly, what to search up and what's your website, etc.
Okay, basically, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And I would love for us to get connected. So you can search on Instagram at Light Art VR. And on that page, you'll find all our future events, past events, and also you can click on our website and learn more about like our company, our locations, and our booking and all the events. And you can connect with me personally on my Instagram page at Samah Safi, SAMAH SAFI, and I would love to see you there.
Thank you so much, Samah. It's been incredible talking with you. And I always want to offer a little bit of a wrap up myself. So I think in this conversation, what I think is most impactful is that everyone really does have a story to tell, right? Through your work, you're telling the story of the seerah and, you know, the prophet stories, but also as you stood on that TED Talk stage, you told a story that happened to you, right? And you didn't set that up to happen. I mean, it happened to you, but it became something that you were able to inspire other people with by telling that story and then telling, you know, the stories that came after that. And it led to an incredible path of empowerment for Muslim women and for Muslims, you know, all around the world. I think that people, non-Muslim or Muslim, can take from that storytelling is a very powerful tool that can make an impact on people's lives. Like I said, I love to listen to storytelling podcasts. I love to listen to just anything, even TikTok videos, someone just throwing up their phone and telling a story that happened. It's just really impactful for
Even
me.
subhanallah, just like one line, the Quran, maybe more than half of it is just like literally stories of like the people before us, and Allah
Exactly.
subhanahu wa ta'ala know that we love stories. That's
Yeah.
why He literally used storytelling to teach us about the previous nations and how to be hopefully better than them, inshallah.
Exactly. And he says to learn about those stories so that you can educate yourself and do differently, you know, than the people that passed. So I just want to invite those watching to look deep inside of yourself and find the stories that may have happened to you, and find an avenue for that to become inspirational to other people. By writing, by creating videos, by, you know, becoming a filmmaker like Samah, it can really help to inspire other people through just telling your own story. Thanks so much for tuning in to This Hijabi Life. Next week, we'll be talking again with another amazing Muslim woman about her journey with hijab. And until then, stay blessed and covered beautifully.